We're discussing how to live green this summer, and we want to hear from you on Facebook and Twitter. All you have to do is join the conversation at #OurTakeArise, and remember to leave your comments on our Facebook page, Our Take on Arise TV. And of course, Our Take's ongoing look at health continues with a look at some unique and eco-friendly ways parents can protect their children in the sun. With more on this is Alyson Stamos, a journalist turned stay-at-home mom who during her pregnancy found the search for eco-friendly products a little bit of a challenge. Well, now she's here to help parents interested in sustainable green living make better choices. And thank you, Alyson, for being with us here today. Also with us is Hart. She talks with us via Skype about her line of organic skincare products, including protective lotions for the little ones. Hi there, Ayo. Can you hear me?
I can, yes. Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you for being with us here today. I like this idea of keeping the little ones lathered up in sun protective lotions and creams. First of all, how do you get them to sit still long enough to put it on? But really, as a parent, how do you look for the right products?
You know, I hate to say it, but it's true. It really is a bit of a process, which I think for most parents probably started when they were pregnant. And the thing is, truthfully, ingredients have changed so much, formulas have changed, labels have changed. And so what we thought we were using that was the right thing when our babies were babies, as they grow older, I know I have found, for example, we've constantly been changing to stay with the safest and healthiest things. But as you may know, the first thing I think I tell all parents is to start with the back of the bottle. And sometimes, as many companies do, there are cute characters, there's all these great things on the front of the bottle, which makes the kids want it. But as parents, really, I think it all starts with the ingredients and understanding what's inside the bottle.
And you have your own product line. Can you talk a little bit about how you got that product line off the ground and what motivated you to do it?
Sure. Actually, I can't take the credit for the beginning. It was actually my husband's idea. He had some personal experiences, unfortunately, with both of his parents being diagnosed with cancer. His father, whom we lost, unfortunately, his mom is a breast cancer survivor. And Nigel's originally, he's British, he's from Norwich, England. And we very quickly became aware, after speaking to his mother's oncologist, about the big differences, really, in European standards of personal care products and American standards of personal care products. And I was sort of shocked and dismayed. He was more irate. And he just decided that we had to take it upon ourselves, really, to clean up our own children's bath, because the products we thought had been safe really did pose some potential health risks. So Nigel started really, literally in our kitchen making soap with the girls. We have twin daughters, and everyone that we knew we would share the soap with, and we sort of started on a bit of a soapbox, I have to be honest.
No pun intended. No pun intended.
I was determined to sort of clean my entire preschool and all my friends. But we really got a lot of great feedback from what he was doing, and I actually enjoyed, I think, the challenge of it all, and I was learning so much that I started working with him, and he, of course, went back to work, and here I am now running Dolphin Organics.
And you're holding down the fort very well. Thank you, Ayo. Alyson, her story in many ways kind of reminds me a little bit about what I've heard about you, which is your pregnancy, your personal experience is what kind of shifted your behavior. Talk to me about that.
Well, when you get pregnant, everyone knows you search engine, what am I not supposed to eat, what am I not supposed to do? So you know, cut back on the alcohol, sushi, things like that. Sushi was the hardest, let's be clear. But then you start to realize, okay, well, why shouldn't I eat so much tuna? Okay, I never really knew that there was a lot of mercury in tuna. So then you start going deeper, and that's when I started asking questions. And then I thought, well, if this stuff isn't good for me to eat while I'm pregnant, why is it okay once I'm not pregnant?
Sure. Right.
You know, and then if you're nursing, and then, you know, I nursed for 10 months, and then after that, well, okay, I want to live healthier. And I'm lucky because I live in California. So it seems like everywhere I turn, I'm learning from the restaurants that won't serve tomatoes out of season, or, you know, a lot of the shops that are in San Francisco where I live are really focused on green and healthy living. So it sort of started with just a pregnancy, and then it just became this, well, I want to live like this for the long term.
You want to live, you want to eat, and you just want to be better, be green.
Yeah.
We heard Ayo mention that for her it meant developing her own skincare line. And quite frankly, there seems to be a lot of confusion. I know sometimes when I go shopping and I want to find what I consider the all-natural or the organic or what have you, there doesn't seem to be any kind of like standard rubber stamps, you know, sign that I should look for. So I want to ask a very basic question. First of all, tell me, what is the difference between, say, something that is identified as organic versus, say, something that's identified as natural?
Okay, so this is a really interesting question. I'll start with natural because that's, for me, the most shocking. There is actually no definition for natural.
Right.
So if you go
So
to
it's not natural.
Right. So if you go to the
natural about natural.
So natural's not natural.
Right.
Okay, we'll start there.
Well, what it means is there's no standard. I should say it this way. So the FDA, if you go to their website, they will say once something's taken out of the ground, we can no longer consider it natural.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of companies will put all natural products on their food, and maybe to the company it means something. Or, for example, Whole Foods has a standard definition for natural. So if you want to carry products in their stores that are, say, natural, they have to meet a certain standard. I know, for example, with Ayo's company, I think on the back she's got natural, and she has her own definition. So at least there's transparency there. But the point is there's no standard across the board.
Okay.
When it comes to organic, there is a USDA, so there's the federal USDA standard, which means, in a nutshell, no synthetic fertilizers and no pesticides. So that's really what it means. But it's a process, so not everybody is organic. And also in the state of Oregon, that's the only state that I can think of that has its own certification on a local level.
You know, it's interesting that you bring up standards and the, because that's how I got to my happy hair. I was pregnant. And it's interesting how pregnancy will inspire you to do things that are good for you and for women.
Yeah.
There were no standards around relaxers because I didn't know what they're called neurological damage. There was no research. It continues to go unregulated. And these are really intense chemicals because it was the end of the 80s, early 90s, and you know I had a texturizer. Like I put stuff. I was using the creamy
relaxer, texturizer, all sorts of stuff.
So I was so concerned that they couldn't tell me that there were any chemicals that could cause neurological damage that I stopped using relaxers. And so from that, I hadn't seen my own texture in a very long time. However, I continued to do research, and I found there was neurological damage, not to women who were pregnant, but to practitioners, and particularly practitioners that are in spaces that weren't ventilated. So the women doing, you know, relaxers in their kitchen and the small neighborhood salons were breathing in relaxer. So you know, it's interesting that she made a point about, you know, standards being higher in Europe. There are a lot of things that they sell to us, particularly women, with these buzzwords like natural or coconut or guava juice or something that's the new buzzword, but we don't know what is actually good for us.
And we don't know enough necessarily to make the right decision. So I have to ask you, Ayo, and then I'll come back to you, Alyson. All right, I want to make sure that my children are eating well, that they are eating healthy, and that they are protected, obviously all year long, but in the summertime in particular, right? It's fruits, it's vegetables, they're out swimming, they're out doing all sorts of stuff. What are the things that you would recommend every parent must get?
Well, actually, before I answer that question, if you don't mind, I'm just going to take a step backwards, going back to the standards and regulations, because Alyson brought up a good point with the USDA, and what I think is really good, it's, you know, I tend to be cynical sometimes, I have to admit, but I'm learning to give some of the organizations a little bit more leeway, and one of the things that was most frightening to us in terms of personal care was the fact that in the U.S., there really is, not only are there no standards, there are really no testing requirements for the most part. So someone can create a product and put it in a bottle and put it on the shelf. And there really are no standards on allergy testing. You don't have to get skin and irritation testing. some company, we obviously do, a lot of companies will choose to, but it goes beyond not having standards of organic or natural. There are no standards really even on testing on what goes in the bottle. There is a personal...
Ayo, I'm so sorry. We are running out of time. I absolutely don't mean to cut you off. Alyson, I did say I was going to come to you. What can you tell parents as the must-have purchases?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's about going back to the basics. I mean, keep it simple. If your child is young and they're out in the sun, let's, do the hat. Keep them out of the sun, a little bit of sunscreen. Those are the basics. Get a rash guard. If you're talking about for outside, that's what you need. I mean, keep it simple. We get too complicated these days.
All right. Thank you. Alyson Stamos and Ayo Hart with us today from California. We appreciate your insight and your analysis. And let's keep the kids safe this summer, certainly. And you are watching Our Take.